Hello and welcome to the syllabus discussion video for Art 15. So you are registered to the 2D design class. Welcome. Here are some of the basic information that deals with my class. Course catalog description. When you signed up for this class, you probably already have seen this. Something that is required for art majors, even though you don't exactly have to be an art major to take this class. So this class usually meets twice a week, where we would have about 2 hours of lecture and then 3 hours of lab. So plan to spend around 5 hours a week in this class. And here are the student learning outcomes. Create 2-dimensional projects that exemplify the basic elements and principles of design theory. Critique historical and contemporary design concepts, aesthetics, theory and art history in both written and oral presentations. Examine techniques and methods to transform a given medium into a strong visual design. And before I finish this list, I'm guessing that, again, you guys probably have already seen this when you signed up for this class. If not, make sure that you go over this on my syllabus. I just want to go over some of the more important parts for the sake of this video. So here is a list of the required student materials. I'm actually going to record a video just dedicated to the materials in a future recording. So here are the things that we'll be using in this class. I think of it as just the minimum amount of materials that we'll be using. There may be a little bit more as we go along. So the mixed media paper, at least 12-inch by 16-inch or larger. If you happen to come across a bristle paper pad, that also works really well. It's a little bit more sturdy than the mixed media paper. So I feel that bristle paper pad is more expensive. So, you know, do what you can. Mixed media will work just as well. If you plan to use the gouache, the paint a lot, I think bristle paper is a little bit better. I would even go for watercolor paper. That's actually a little bit more suited. So, so look around, but mixed media paper is the basic. So you'll be using a sketchbook. You'll need a Sharpie with the fine or medium points. If you have this Tombow art pen, that might be good enough. I don't think you really need Sharpies and the Tombow art pen. So when it comes to the Sharpie, I'm guessing you probably have something like that at home already. So something that I like to tell my students, look over the list, see if there's anything that you don't already have. Then if you don't have them, go ahead and go to the nearest supply store and get them. So stores like Michael's, Joann's. I don't know of any local places out in Merced. There's a Hobby Lobby that opens up near where I live. I know there's a Hobby Lobby out in Los Banos. And I'm not sure about Merced. And so if you go to Michael's, they should have all of these supplies. So you'll be using a type of fabric or multi-purpose glue for a collage, scissors, X-Acto knife. If you get an X-Acto knife, I would suggest buying this here, the self-healing cutting mat. It's kind of like a cutting board, except you use it for crafting. So it's really useful. Multicolored construction paper. If you have old magazines, photographs, and newspapers, that's really good. I had students that they didn't have anything like that at home, and I was just thinking, really? Are you sure? Ask your parents, ask your uncles, aunts, relatives, or whatever. I'm pretty sure they have a lot lying around. If not, you can always print stuff out, but that takes more work. To me, it takes more work. pencil, HB or the 6B. So these are drawing pencils. The HB is equivalent to the pencils that you're probably already drawing with. I mean, if you're writing with the, a 2B pencil, it's pretty close to what an HB is. I wouldn't be too particular when it comes to that. But if you have a 6B pencil, that's a little bit darker, and you'll want to experiment with that when we start working with value. You want to try to create some darker lines. Compressed charcoal, we're going to do a little bit of drawing exercises with that. Eraser, of course, pencil sharpener, a gouache paint set, 8 through 12 colors or more are fine. So gouache is a type of watercolor. It is a little bit more opaque. It is more opaque than regular watercolor, where it's a little bit translucent. What else about gouache? It's the traditional painting that a lot of the comic book artists used to use. And so we're going to actually do some projects with that media. So get the gouache paint set. If you happen to have acrylic paint at home and you want to use that instead, go for it. But when it comes to acrylic paint on mixed media paper, it's not as good. The gouache works better on the mixed media. For acrylic, if you have acrylic paint, you might need sturdier paper. So, work with what you have. If you have questions, you could always ask me. You could always ask the people that work at the store. If you're going to order everything online, I suggest Amazon because you get everything faster. And that's just through experience. If you take a chance and you buy something off eBay, you never know where it's coming from sometimes. You don't know what country it's coming from, so it might take weeks. So in a situation like this, I think it's better to order from a closer place or just try to go to the store or order from Amazon. You want your supplies ASAP, okay? So there are some paintbrushes that we'll be using, 10, 8, and 6, small, medium, or large. And again, look around to see what you already have. I actually got a lot of my art supplies from my brother. He's older than me. He took art classes before me, and he just gave me his leftovers. So you never know who that you never know who has them just lying around. So a digital camera, of course, if you're using your phone, I think that's good enough when it comes to taking pictures for your artwork, because we are doing everything online these days. Let's see, students are expected to be able to convert files into JPEGs. I'm hoping that a lot of you are somewhat computer savvy. I'm guessing that you have to be if you're taking an online class, right? A different learning environment in comparison to our traditional face-to-face class, where I would have students that are almost, they don't use computers at all. So yeah, you guys are a different breed, but anyhow, it should be exciting regardless. You should be able to learn either way. So desktop or laptop. For Canvas, the Chrome browser happens to be the best. Some students, they try to use just their app, Canvas app, on their phone, and it's really unreliable. It's very limited. I don't think you can upload multiple files on there. There's some functions that aren't there on the app yet. So to use Canvas would be best on a regular computer. If you're using a phone or a tablet, you would have to go on a browser and do everything there. If you try to, again, use the app, yeah, it's not really that good. It's very limited. I only use it for messaging, to be honest. Students, if they message me, I'll just reply using the app. But I won't grade. Oh, it's really good for grading student work. But if I were to submit assignments, because I took, I did some online training, to use the app is really, yeah, you can't really do a lot. So make sure that you have stable internet. If you are struggling to have a decent computer, and internet or internet, I would probably try asking the school. So if you are struggling with these things, ask. I feel that the school is trying to help the students out, trying to help out the community, and take advantage of it, especially if you have a lot of people at home who needs a computer. There's not enough computers at home. So if that's the case, check one out. Check out a laptop. Of course, you have to eventually return it at the end of the semester. So do what you can. Take advantage of whatever is available. Additional supplies as needed throughout this semester. I should reword that. Additional supplies may be needed throughout the semester. So optional textbook, Design Basics 9th edition by Pentac. I give out quizzes. There's actually a lot of, there's a very large academic side to this class. I want you to know the terminology. We're actually gonna go through a lot of PowerPoints in class. All my quizzes are based off of the textbook. So I had students that can do very well without the textbook. They can still pass the class. But if you want to do exceptional, I would probably go for the textbook. Yeah, the quizzes, they're not easy. So, and the PowerPoints, they are semi-informative only because they are made by the publisher. And so I'm trying to lecture based off of these PowerPoints, but it's it only has parts of the information. So really everything is from the textbook. And so here is the online communication policy. Here is my contact info. The best times to reach me: Tuesday, Thursday, 10:30 a.m. through 10 p.m. So if we were to actually have a regular class, say that the pandemic wasn't happening, this is actually the time we would be spending together right now. Tuesday and Thursday, 10:30 a.m. through 12:10 p.m. Yeah, so I actually have to dedicate this time to this class because I'm actually teaching 7 classes. I'm teaching 7 classes in one semester. Usually I teach 3, but now I'm teaching 7. Yeah, I guess there's a growing demand for online learning. So, fortunate for me that I can still work, but is it the same as regular learning? It's okay, but I think that if you are an art major, I would totally just have a regular class, simply because we can't be there to watch you when you're working. You can always submit your work early and then turn them into me before the deadline, but I feel like not a lot of students will do that. So they usually just show me the work when they're done. But I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit later about the process of how you'll be documenting your work. Okay, so anyhow, 10:30 to 12:10 p.m. is the best time to get a hold of me. I usually email a lot of my replies at night. Like right now, I'm actually recording this at night because this is when everyone's asleep, my family's asleep, and I can actually get some work done. But I try to dedicate this time for this class, Tuesday, Thursday. So please allow up to 24 hours for a response from me. My preferred methods of communication: email and the Canvas inbox. I used to have Remind, and it's pretty cool because students were emailing, they're sending me messages, basically sending me text messages that it's almost like sending text messages to people's phones, but I didn't really like it after a while. It's kind of intrusive. I was getting messages like random times, and so I can't do that this semester because I had so many classes. But back then, that was totally fine. But now, yeah, do what you can to manage your time, as I do with mine as well. Okay, so assignments here, problem solving quizzes, some assigned reading, the gallery reports, 2 required per semester. So you're actually going to do quite a bit of writing. more like typing and responding. You're going to do online critiques and also the studio projects. So something about the late policy. Projects and online assignments are due on the assigned due date as stated per assignment. Failure to submit work before or on the due date will result to an automatic 20% of the total point value. And I need to change this because it is 20% for each day. I'm actually looking at a typed out version of my syllabus. The one that is on Canvas right now is up to date. So it's actually 20% off initially, and then an additional 20% deduction for each, let's see, and each additional day. Each additional day in which the assignment is not turned in. So you actually have less time, but I only do this because most professors that I know, they don't even accept late work. But for my class, I try to give students a little bit of a chance when it comes to adjusting to this online environment, in that, you know, maybe they're not, maybe if you're like me and it's hard to find these pockets of time to get work in, but at least you still have, so you'll get some credit even if it's turned in late. So 20% off for missing a deadline, but for each day that it is not submitted, an additional 20% will be added. So you actually have 5 days to turn it in, because after that, it will be worth 0%. Okay, so if anything, don't submit anything late, because it can really affect your grade. I had students that they are so good at their studio projects. They're so creative, they're so talented, but they turn in everything late. And so they end up getting like a C in the class. And yeah, that's pretty bad. You don't want to do that. So same thing for quizzes and exams. I'm going to show you guys a bit later that I usually give my quizzes on the first day of the school week. So I'll give you chapter 1 during a week. You'll get the quiz the following Monday, but it's only going to be available on that Monday. And if you don't take it on Monday, it's going to be considered late. Okay. So same thing for the quizzes, an additional 20% will be added. An additional 20% deduction will be added for every day it's not submitted. I had a really bad problem with, I actually was teaching this class to high schoolers, and they were sharing answers together. They were kind of like, and so I had to find a way to schedule it to where they can only take it on one day for the sake of the students just being able to know the stuff instead of them, depending on each other. And so anyhow, I don't want to be that kind of teacher where I'm out to look out to try to catch, students doing things like that. So that is the way I give quizzes. They're usually on Mondays, but when it comes to midterms and finals, I'm actually gonna talk about that a little bit later. I give those on Fridays. So you actually have a midterm and you actually have a final exam. So yes, I really want students to know their stuff, know their terminologies. Okay, so grading scale is traditional A, B, C, D, F. Here is another important topic here. Grades are based on these categories, so the points are actually weighted. So 30% of your score is based off of the projects, 30% is based off of quizzes and exams, 15% is off the sketchbook designs. You know what, this is going to change. This is not, I'm taking out sketchbook designs. Yes, I'm sorry if I'm gonna, you know what? It's work. Let's do this work too. We're doing Does that look right? Okay, so this is more correct. So 40% for the projects, 35% for the quizzes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm trying to do math right now. Anyhow, this is what I get when I don't update my paper syllabi. I actually update the Canvas one first, and then I transfer it over to the paper version. So the projects are given throughout the semester. Let me see. Okay, these are pretty self-explanatory. Students are expected to have at least 3 thumbnail sketches for their project. So there's different stages in which students are to submit their work. So imagine you have a project and that you're planning it out. So you're going to plan it out, you're going to sketch these designs, you're going to take a picture of them. And so you get the actual work that you're going to do, the paper pad where you're going to do all of your projects. About 10-15% of the way into the project, you're going to take a picture of it. And so I'm asking for at least 2 progress images on top of the thumbnail sketches, and then the final version. So there's actually quite a bit. Students, they figure it out after they notice there's points missing. So if you have questions on that, let me know. Okay, so quizzes and exams, I told you guys these things already. I usually give them on Mondays, except for the midterm and the final, which I give on Fridays. So sketchbook, you guys have the multimedia paper pad and also a sketchbook. So you actually have 2 main sources of the drawing and the sketching. So when it comes to the sketchbook, I advise that students use this basically on a daily basis. You want to write down your ideas. And what I used to do is I used to take all my notes in my sketchbook. So that's what I did. I did my assignments and my sketchbooks. I planned them all out in my sketchbook. But when it came to my project, then I would get out the mixed media paper. And yes, I took this class too. I took this class a long time ago at Fresno City College. It was actually one of the first classes I added because my major classes were all full. I couldn't take any of the major classes that I needed. So they asked me if I wanted to take an art class. And so I said, okay, I guess, see how it goes. And I eventually changed my major. So anyhow, let's see. When it comes to the projects, something that I like to mention is that you don't want to Google the assignments and just copy them, because that is not work. That is, I think anyone can look something up and copy something that they watch on YouTube. It doesn't really take that much effort. When it comes to creating your own work, when it comes to your own creativity, that's where you want to, that is the skills that you want to develop. It's really difficult to ask that from people nowadays because they are so dependent. They are so dependent on the internet. They look up Google, they look up YouTube videos for anything. I'm guilty of that as well. But when it comes to art, I expect for you to conjure up your own ideas, make them about you, not really about, you don't want to be inspired by what someone else has already done. You want to exercise your creative ability. You want to push that. Okay, so these weekly designs, I'm not really going to assign them this semester. I used to give designs every week, and that students had to do at least 2 per week. But since I don't see you guys on a daily basis, I don't assign that. I do that for my regular class because it gives me something to look forward to while everyone is in the class working on their projects. So then it gives me a reason to go student to student to see how they're doing. But for the online class, I wouldn't worry about that, okay? Critique assignments based off of the projects that we are doing. I'm also assigning these web critiques. So these are the handouts that I would normally give out in class. So you basically had to check out this article, read about it, and then just, you know, write like 3 or 4 paragraphs. Okay, discussion critiques, gallery report. Now these are pretty exciting. What I normally would do is I would have students go to a museum or gallery at least once throughout the whole semester. But since we are experiencing the pandemic, we can't physically go to a gallery right now. So what I'm asking students to do is to write 2 online gallery reports. So there are a lot of gallery exhibitions. You're going to receive a list of them eventually when the time comes. So look forward to that. So there is a little bit of writing involved, okay? Let's see. All of the writing is submitted through, at least the gallery reports are submitted through Turnitin. I am hoping that you guys know what that is. If you don't, Google it. Okay. Anyhow, so online class attendance and participation. Students will be marked present by participating at least 3 times per week on Canvas. Okay. You know what? I'm gonna switch that. It's 2 times per week on Canvas. So it can be the quiz and also a submission of your project or assignment. So whenever you submit work, I mark you as present. If you finish a quiz, I mark you as present. If you miss these deadlines, I mark you absent. And you're probably wondering, why would you even bother with keeping track of attendance when we're not physically there? The school, they want to know. The school, they want to know who is participating. They want to know how many times the students are being active on Canvas, how many interactions are there. And for students to just log on and not really do anything, that doesn't count. So you have to do some sort of interaction. And so when it comes to the discussion board responses, I look for feedback that is constructive. If you just say something like "good job" or "I agree," and you know there's nothing to really back it up, I'll dot points off just because I want students to put more effort, and so you're going to write at least 3 or 4 sentences on something. So make it worth your make the responses worthwhile. Okay, students are only allowed 3 absences per semester. Students are responsible for finding out information on missed classes. There are certain in-class assignments that cannot be made up, and that is more for my face-to-face class as well. Students would miss the quiz and I wouldn't give it to them anymore. Yeah, it's funny, huh? So absences. So these are some excused absences: funerals, sickness and injury, religious observances, school activities such as a sport or band performance, etc. Of course, jury duty, military duty. And so if you have these things, if you're going to miss a deadline because of these things, I have to have some sort of documentation. That's the only way I'm going to void that's the only way I can void your absence. I had to have something written, and it's not going to be like a parent. It's not going to be a note written by your parents. It has to be from a doctor or something like that. Otherwise, if you miss a deadline, you'll be marked absent. And as long as you don't have too many absences, you should be fine. Unexcused absences. So sometimes students, they miss deadlines, they don't come to class because of things like work, babysitting, family vacations, lack of transportation, or concerts. I consider these unexcused absences because when it comes to school, you want to factor that into whatever you're already doing. You should have your work schedule planned out already. You need to tell your boss, hey, I'm taking a class and I need this time to do schoolwork. And so you have to have all of that situated. Babysitting, same thing. You know, I would have students that they would miss a lot of days. It's because they are, you know, they don't have anyone to help out at home. And, you know, it's troublesome, but at the same time, it's letting the class feel like they're not really a part of the class. So it actually is a little bit of it influences the class in a bad way. So I have to factor that in. Same thing with work. If you are taking a class, plan these things ahead of time. Look for a babysitter, ask for help, make these things happen, okay? Same thing with family vacations. I had students, they go on family vacations random times throughout the year, but when you're going to school, you know, I would just dedicate that short amount of time to school. You could always do vacations during the weekend, during spring break, during Christmas vacation and all that. But for some reason, some students like Monday through Friday, they're gonna go on family vacation. So I say, no, to me, that's absent, okay? So same thing for the lack of transportation and also concerts. You know, if you really have to go, you know, take the absence. You know, as long as it's not troublesome, you won't get dropped, okay? And so if you have any questions about that, let me know. Course outline, I'm not gonna go through these individually. It's quite a bit. If you are committed to the class, look forward to learning about all of this. Okay, so let me see if there's anything that I should mention. Special needs. So sexual misconduct policy, violence prevention, DSPNS. These things you should probably know about when you signed up for the class. Let me talk a little bit about DSPNS here. If you are a DSPNS student, make sure that you probably have some sort of documentation saying that you need accommodations for this particular thing. Sometimes in a regular class setting, students would have to sit closer to me because they want to hear me more clearly, or they need to sit closer to the exit door because, I don't know, maybe they had to take medicine or something. So there's going to be some sort of accommodation. And so if you are a student that is in the DSPNS program, please let me know, because I need to know these things before I start giving you assignments, okay? Yes, I had students that they needed more time to take their quiz, and because they didn't give me their documentation, I couldn't really just give them extra time. I needed the documentation. And they ended up, and the student I'm thinking of now, that he gave me his DSPNS documentation so late in the semester, after he was, you know, worried that he wasn't going to pass a class because he wasn't able to do that as well as he could due to the amount of time he had to take the exam. So sometimes students need a little bit longer time. So if you have, you know, a documentation, please give it to me so that I can make adjustments right away, okay? And so you guys probably know about these things: Student Success Center, Tutorial Center, Student Health Services, Veterans Resource Center. I should talk about the health services thing because it's quite new. If you are stressed out because of school, if you're stressed out because of the virus, or whatever else is going on, because there's so much, there's a lot of negativity happening in the world right now. I'm not gonna lie. If you are stressed out about that, there is a student health center, and they are there to talk to you and help you, I guess, understand some of these things. And I wish that I had that in when I was going to school, because I just remember feeling stressed out a lot. But we didn't have like a psychological center. But it's a big thing that a lot of junior colleges are doing now, and it's pretty useful. I feel like not a lot of students take advantage of this idea that you have a third person that you can talk to when it comes to discussing things like stress. Just having that extra, person listen to you, it helps out a lot, trust me. So anyhow, I think that is it for my syllabus discussion. Please let me know if you have any questions. I'm sorry if my presentation is not clean and thorough. I was actually making changes on the way. So yeah, looking forward to this class. And yeah, let me know if you need any help. Thanks for listening.